What's up, party people?
How we all doing? So, here's how I think we're gonna practice today. So we got this Jake Paul fight, of which we are all so excited for. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna vibe out, and I'm just gonna mess around with some effects and just jam. I'm just gonna jam. Get some jamming in. Peanut butter and jam. That's how I used to practice. So here's how this is gonna go. I'm just gonna put on weird effects and mess around with it and do what I wanna do. I just put on the rings of Saturn. Sound like I'm playing my guitars from another planet. Now my guitar sounds like an AI that's becoming self-aware. Alright. I'll keep the rings of Saturn in the effects chain, but I'm gonna check it off so it is not running. And I'll mess around with some other stuff. I really like this, the Valhalla Supermassive Delay. That shit sounds unbelievable. I like doing the delay, like the dotted eighth orbits. You get crazy sustain on that shit. Sounds like I think the idea is that it's supposed to be like space, but it sounds like you're inside of like an ice cave. It's like the end of every 80s movie. We'll never beat the corporation. And then they kill themselves, and then the girl turns out to be a robot. That shit sounds wild, man. Valhalla massive with dotted eighth notes. Here, I'm gonna make a loop of just this, like where I'm doing this. I'm like get like quiet and then all that like slow down. And I'll do like some of those atmospheric thingers. Like when you pitch it behind that, now you're getting into space now. Go into deep space right now. Alright. Okay. And now we're gonna try to loop it. Let's see if it loops good. Oh my god, it looped good. It looped good. Now I can do whatever I want over that. We just entered the fucking Twilight Zone, motherfuckers. You kind of like can't even play a wrong note in this sort of a thing, right? There's no wrong notes. This just sounds fucking unbelievable. Alright, let's get some of these pick scrapes. If I get like a jagged pick that's been like fucked up, what I can do is I can go to the to the light strings that aren't like brass or whatever the fuck. Maybe they're nickel? Who knows? Let me fuck up this pick some more. I'm gonna get it all fucked up. I'm gonna like shred the pick. And then when we go to these light strings, we can create all these weird fucking shits going. You see how I just shredded this pick? God damn, bro. And I have become death, destroyer of worlds. Now you hear that? So this pick has like this grippy stuff, right? It has this stuff on there that's like textured, so you can grip it and it's not gonna fall out of your hand when you're sweaty. But I can use that on the light strings and get this scratchy noise that sounds fucking crazy, especially with this delay on there, this planetary delay. So I think the fact that I can do all of this, it basically means that I am already a guitar god. I'm like channeling the cosmos right here. I'm sort of in some like Yoda, Master Yoda, do or do not. There is no try shit. There's this one time when I was taking mushrooms and like I was trying to play guitar and I was like trying to practice the skill, and then the answer came to me in the form of a sassy black lady. I heard the voice, the mushroom spoke to me in the voice of a sassy black lady, and the mushroom said, he a good practicer, he a good practicer. And I was like, good practicer, and it made sense. There's a difference, there's a distinction between practicing and really playing with your soul. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in space. You guys ever listen to that album, Ladies and Gentlemen, We're in Space? I only just understood that what they were saying right now. It's not about like, oh, we're in a spaceship. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, we're in space. This is crazy. It like literally sounds unbelievable. You see how little effort that took to make this like sprawling fucking landscape of sound? However, as Dave Grohl says, the hard thing, it's easy to make the heaviest metal fucking thing ever, the nihilistic, that record, the nihilistic, Nothing Matters, la 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 album. What's hard is making a top 40 pop song. That is to say, what is difficult about writing a top 40 pop song is not the formulation of the song. What's difficult about it is genuinely relating to people. And so what we can do is sort of simulate the Doppler effect in physics. Right? So as we approach, see, I'm set to my neck pickup on my guitar, which is the magnet that is closer to the neck. And so when I pick scrape, as I approach the neck pickup, it's like a car that is coming towards you, right? But when I pass the neck pickup, it goes like a car driving away from you. Right now I'm on planet 9 right here. I'm on the 9th planet. I've got to get into some 10th planet jiu-jitsu. This is Purgatorio, planetary style. Purgatorio, that's somewhere you end up. It's somewhere I end up on the guitar. This is wild. I should do this on stage. This is easy. I'm gonna go to an open mic next Sunday. Or is it Sunday? I'm gonna go to open mic tonight. So I think what I have to do then is I'll have to bring some sort of computer, because I'm going to have to play through my DAW, because that's where I have this effect on. I hate the 21st century. No good has come from this technology. So what if we've solved starvation? If you actually look at the statistics, in the last 20 years, we've, like, there's always, we used to talk about starving children in Africa. It's not like nobody's starving, but statistically, we've done a lot to solve that problem. It's almost, look into statistics. It's very fascinating. We've brought more people out of starvation in the last 20 years than in the rest of human history. We've done a lot to solve the starving children in Africa problem. I'm just zoning out to this fucking loop I have. This shit is incredible, man. But yeah, most of the world is above the poverty line. The vast majority of the world now. And most of that work has been done in really just the last 20 years. Doesn't mean everything's all sunshine and roses. It certainly does not. But look at the bright side. Here, let me look up the exact statistics in regards to the poverty line. And let's define what is the poverty line. So there's different poverty thresholds in different countries, essentially. But the basic idea is that's the cost of 1 year's worth of necessities for the average adult. And the minimum income to continually like maintain that. Not about savings. So, last 20 years, I don't know how to find these statistics, but I was looking into it a while ago. Poverty line. All right, yeah. So the proportion of the world's population living in what is known as extreme poverty has halved in the last 20 years. Halved. So we cut that portion of people in half. And so, like, places across Africa have received a lot of aid, essentially. India has improved its stature significantly. In fact, India is probably going to be the world's biggest economy in the next 100 years. Like, it's probably going to be India and China. Personally, I think India is awesome, but they like poop in the street. And they have a big problem with raping women, which I'm all for. If you want to have a horrible evening, go look up Indians and trains. Indians and trains. To spoil it, they die a lot. Like a lot. A lot of Indians die. Fucking around on trains. That's like their TikTok trends. We gotta get on the train and we eat like Tide Pods, or maybe that's a long time ago at this point. Indians fuck around on trains. This is honestly such a fucking relaxing little loop I made. Like, I'm so put at ease. At 1 o'clock today, I'm going to be streaming the Jake Paul fight with my brother over at the Ayazi XXX channel. Go tune in if you want. I feel like I want to meditate. I want to go to Tibet. That's like my dream. It's very difficult to do. While I'm at it, fuck China. Free Tibet, motherfuckers. Fuck China. I'll either go to Tibet or like Nepal. One of the two. Nepal is like the Indian Tibet, and Tibet was Tibet until America took over, or China took over it. You guys ever read about the Dalai Lama? He's a cool guy. You ever read the Tibetan Book of the Dead? Let me spoil it for you. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet. is so crazy. This just sounds wild, honestly. Let me say a prayer. What's a good prayer to say? It's still morning. I could say the Shema. Full Shema prayer in Hebrew. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Here, let's get this. I'm supposed to cover my eyes with my right hand. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'achavte et Adonai lecha, b'chal ivaritza ichal nafsha, uvshal mondecha, v'yoha dvarim ha'ele asher nochi mitzvah v'cha lach yom alai v'yivecha. That's for you, God. Man, this is not how we're going to practice every day, but I'll be damned if this doesn't sound like out of this fucking world, man. I could just sit in here and soak up this atmosphere for like the rest of my life. You hear this shit? Are you hearing this? We're on planet 9 right now. Number 9? Number 9? Number 9?
Welcome to
Like it sounds like I'm in space. That's what it sounds like. Let me take this hat off. Let me put my Naruto headband on. Oh. Man. Sounds just fucking out of this fucking world, man. Just straight out of this fucking world. Man. What if I try and change the amp? This one doesn't distort it as much as that one. Oh yeah, here we are. This is the sweet spot. Alright, now I just put the rings of Saturn back on. Are you hearing this shit? Are you hearing this? Living in the 21st century, doing something mean to it. This sounds fucking just totally ridiculous. Alright. Well, we could sit here all day. I'm gonna fuck up this loop. I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna start recording more stuff on top of it until it just becomes a garbled mess. And then we're gonna kill it and move on to the next thing. It's a long loop, so it's gonna take a second to completely ruin it. Now we've entered into, like, we were in the Twilight Zone. Now this is just hell. Alright. And like that, it's gone. There we brought it to usual suspects. What was the greatest trick that the devil had ever played? It was convincing the world that he did not exist. Alright, now to make up for that, we're going to try to play something pretty. I already like this. You go from a major 7 and you go down a half step and you play a minor 7. It just makes me want to sigh. Alright, let's dial in some other effects. But let's get something nice sounding. So that was all planetary and shit, like we were on fucking the Twilight Zone, spacing out and everything. Let's try, rather than a planetary delay, let's do like a tape delay simulator. So it has like an analog feel. Alright, let's use this. Let's use the stereolyzer so it has, yeah, very, very Mac DeMarco. And then let's try to find our tape delay. The stereolyzer. I really like this one. This HBASM stereolyzer. It looks like it was made for like Windows XP. Alright, here we go. HY delay VST3. Or this isn't what I wanted, but let's try this out. Not into that one. That one's too, sounds kind of like Japanese. It's a Japanese sounding delay. How do I determine that? Don't worry about it. Alright, let's use a vintage tube saturator. And we'll put that after our amp simulator. But this is the bass overdrive. We don't want that one. Oh, what's the number that? BOD. That's right. I got that one. I forgot about that one. We could use some of these 50s effects we use, like the rotary. Wom 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 wom. Yep, that sounds very 50s. And we got the twisted tube. So these are all like 50s vintage effects. Let me dial the rotary back a little. For some reason, it's like a very Japanese thing to do, to use complicated jazz chords, but put them in the context of like a rock song, like a punk rock, indie rock kind of song. Because the Japanese just studied music more carefully. That's why those anime soundtracks sound so good. They're using all those jazz chords and shit, like. If you ever listen to them, it's like, go listen to some Japanese music. Not even like anime shit. Like, listen to some Japanese punk rock. It's just more complicated than our music. It's more complicated than our punk rock. A stereo contractor. Well, we should probably not turn that on because we got the stereoizer, which is the opposite. And I'm going to get rid of the twisted tube because that didn't make any difference. And I already have some tube amp stuff, so. Where is the delay I'm looking for? That's not what I'm looking for. But that does sound pretty crazy though. That's not a delay, that's a let's get rid of that. Does sound kind of cool though. That's not what we were going for. baby come back. That's a really funny name for a delay. It's like an echo delay, and they call it baby come back. I have such a ridiculous amount of songs. What the fuck have I been doing with my life? Alright, cool. We got the X-phonic, the E-phonic expressor. That's gonna make the difference. There's a ducking limiter. Let's put a limiter. Let's try figuring out some like weird rhythms where we do 1 and 7/8, and then we'll do the next one in 6/8. That's kind of not how we should be doing it, but let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can count it out in different ways if you want. But that's a small little difference thing. You know, this is what it is that like you have to open yourself up to the possibility of that sort of thing. But then once you're open to it, you can't like force it, right? It's gonna show up when you want to feel that vibe. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do this. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. I don't know. You can't, yeah, like once you try to force a weird rhythm, it don't really work no more. So I think what I have to do is I have to first go into it open-minded, like, well, what would that sound like if I tried 15/4, or 15 over 8 rather. So let's see what that would potentially sound like right now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Wait, 3, 6, 9, 12, 1, 2. Alright, so it's 4 counts of 3 and then 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Three, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yeah, 3 counts of 3 and then 1, 2. Here, let me change my amp sound. Yeah, and so I've already kind of tapped into weird rhythms. Like I have this song where it goes like this. This is all 4/4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, hang on. Bum 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 bum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it though? That's sub 6. Don't I speed up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I speed up. It's not even tempered. Hang on. So let's record this real quick and just loop it. Or I'll do a loop of it just without even recording it. I fucked it up, but here, let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not right. I'm doing something weird because it's a weird rhythm. So if I was playing the drums, what would I do over it? One, two, three, four. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it an 8, 8? One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I think it's an 8. And then, okay, let me stop that loop. And then basically what I was trying to get to is that after that I go da dun 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 dun. Then I do this part where the rhythm changes. It goes. Here, let me record that. Okay. Dun 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 dun. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Well, you could do a 4. So this is the hard part. Hang on. So this is what the hard part for these rhythms are for me, is that, yeah, you can do a 4/4 rhythm on top of that. But then are you accurately reading what that rhythm was, though? Just because you tried to fit a 4/4 rhythm over it? So it's like, okay, this part is 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So it's like I can't even tell what rhythm this is. Because I can count to 8 and I think that sounds right. But then when I try to sing along with the amount of times I hit the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hit the guitar 6 times. That doesn't mean it's the 6th though. One, two. Or maybe I should count it out on my foot. Man, I have a hard time doing. I think I can do the rhythm properly on my foot, but I can't count it out while playing, which is no bueno. I would not make it in Jazz 101. I heard like I have a toothache. Ugh. Alright, let's think about this. It's definitely an 8. So, okay, now this is the next question I want to figure out. Um, when do you tell it's an 8 versus 4? You know what I mean? Like, because I could just count it less time. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, 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 bum. Or I could go an 8. 1, 2, 3, dun, 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 dun. Because obviously 4 and 8 are they're divisible, right? Whatever, multiples of each other. But sometimes a song is in 8 and sometimes a song is in 4. So when do you decide to do that? Alright, so yeah, that song is going to be an 8 then, because it's counting the beats essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So no, so when I sing the guitar parts, it goes up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But that's not how it is. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On top of that, right? Because if the drum were to play it, it would play it like this. Right? And so that would be 8. Evolution, bruh. evolution. Man, I am a shameless thief. I'm a shameless thief. I have no shame. Yeah, Limp Bizkit of all bands. Limp Bizkit. They have a song called Pollution. Pollution, right? And it goes like this. And they go, and Fred Durst goes, pollution. And I have a song that goes like this. And then we yell, evolution. And then we have this part, which is my part, where I fucked up the rhythm one time while I was trying to record it, and I went like, and it sort of sounds like if you just ended the song there, but then you put a delay on the end, right? So I delayed the last 3 notes, and it goes, right? And so it sounds like a clock ticking down. Tick, 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 tick. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, and I have this other part. And then this is also a ripoff. That chord progression. But obviously I change it up. I change it up in terms of how I'm accenting it. But there's this there's a particular subgenre of indie rock / Midwest emo music called slowcore. Slowcore. In the 80s we had hardcore. Then we had emo. Then we had indie music. And then between emo and indie music, they created slowcore in the late 90s. And basically there was a band called, it's a pretty terrible name for a band in my opinion. It's not a good band name. They called themselves Strictly Ballroom. However, their music is really, really good. And they had a song called A Picture. Or is that the one I'm ripping off? Anyways, I'm not really ripping off the song. I made a totally different song, but I took this chord progression and I combined it with the Limp Bizkit thing. Right, and the idea is that you just build it up, right? You'd have like you go to a quiet part after like going, evolution, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you kind of, this is like a quiet thing, right? It's like, oh man, a man's trials throughout the year, trials and tribulations. Fucking, they're doing this, they're doing that, but they're evolving. You know what I mean? Like they use a club now. They just took it on the chin, human beings, man. Then they got over here. Or whatever, right? You would build it up and have a cool solo there. Yeah. Then maybe you'd like bring it back to this part. And then you do the tick-tock thing. And you end the song. And so, it's evolution, right? Because human beings evolve, and my band's called Cavemen, and then the band is gonna evolve. Because over time, things change, and blah, 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 blah. Ay, 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 ay. I think, see, it's like, I have to find a way to get excited to sit in a room every day and try to record what I got so far. Because at least with the guitar practice thing, I can see myself improving in real time. With the recording thing, it's always going to be a disappointment. Because it's like, well, that's not as good as I wanted it to be. Because I don't got the skills yet. And so I think potentially it's like the strategy I could try to employ is to just uh, lower the standards. But you have to have a certain level of standard, though. It has to be on rhythm, and then it has to at least sound like not bad. Doesn't have to sound good, but it has to not sound bad. So we got about like an hour and a half, 2 hours actually, until this Jake Paul situation. Maybe I could try and hop into Pro Tools. I really like that riff. I do. It has a bounciness to it. Like if I was in the audience for a band that played that song, I'd be like jumping up and down or whatever, right? And then I could bend. Sometimes I bend this. You know, I might want to go look into Eastern music theory, right? Because we got Western music theory, which is when they divide the notes into 12 different notes. You know what I'm talking about? A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D. Whereas in Eastern music theory, they don't have those letters, right? They think about music differently. They have these things called microtones, right? Obviously, the most important thing, since the clock is ticking, so I gotta get these fucking demos done. I gotta start setting some deadlines and holding my feet to the fire, or else shit is gonna get dark. It's gonna get even more dark quick. We're only here for like a fucking blink of an eye, just a blink of an eye. But so for some reason, everybody like they spend so much time shitting and like riding the in their car, commuting, and like looking at TikTok and watching the TV. Here's what's scary, right? Zoom out, right? So if the human being's life is a blink of an eye, the universe, you could think of it as also the entire whole universe, everything is also the blink of an eye. Because what is time? Time only matters to human beings. 100 years, like the average lifespan of like a human being, that seems like a long time subjectively. But we're smart enough to know, like, all right, there's things that are bigger than us, right? Like America has been around for like 200 and like 70 something years, something around there, right? That's bigger than us. China has 3,000 year history. That's bigger than us. Human beings have been on this planet for like 3 million years, right? That's bigger than us. The planet has been around for like 4.7 billion years. That's a lot bigger than us, right? But the thing is, the time, like the big, small, that's only relative to a human being's existence, right? That is our subjective perception of time. But the objective God bird's eye view, this bird's eye view of everything that we call God, right? If we could zoom out and just perceive everything, that would be God, right? So from God's perspective, the entire time span of the entire universe is also a blink of an eye. Because time only matters to us. What, the universe doesn't care about time. It's not feeling time. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And if you're not scared, then I guess you're just smarter than me or something. But I truly believe, and you can say this is an irrational belief, potentially it is, that when we die, we meet our Maker. Them Scientologists have some funny beliefs. That we're all like, every single person is like, what are they called? A tetrad? What the fuck does he call them? A tech, a Scientology, what are they called? Tech, what the fuck are those things called? A Thetan. Yeah, we're all, every single human beings are just Thetans, right? And Thetans are like god-like spirits that live trillion long existences, and we have memories of past lives. But then Xenu was mad, and so he put us on this planet and made us forget that we were Thetans, that we can control, we are god-like beings, and all from the mind of a guy named Ron, who lived like 50 years ago. I'm of the belief that the older the idea is, doesn't necessarily mean it's more true or not, but the more lived with it's been, and the more tested it is. I think Islam is pretty cool. I'm trying to get me some virgins up in heaven, dog. It goes like this in my mind, right? So, Judaism, right? What is Judaism? It is the observation that there is one God, right? Back then they had all these gods, right? Oh, this is the god of the wind, Zeus. This he controls the waves, and this god does. Oh, and the god of the sun and the moon and da 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 da, right? And in Judaism was the observation is like, yeah, I think that's all bullshit. I think there's one God, and he knows everything. And the other observation contained within Judaism is that there is a good and that there is an evil. Now, Christianity goes, good, that's all true. There's one God, good, evil. And then also there was this guy, Christ. And he was God who came to earth in human form. And he was like the ultimate good. He was the most good person possible. And he did the good things, even though on earth, since we're all sinful, we killed the most good person in the world. And so you got to be like Jesus and be good, even though there's evil everywhere and you're probably going to suffer because of it. And then Islam goes, yeah, that was all true as well. But then there's also this. You gotta fight holy jihad against the people who are evil. And then you're going to be rewarded in heaven. That's the Spark Notes version. And then Buddhism goes something like this. There was this guy, Siddhartha, right? Siddhartha. And he lived inside these castle walls. And then he had like this very easygoing life. And he wanted to know what life was outside of the castle walls. And so he snuck out and he saw that the people suffered. And he couldn't go back to his easy life after that. He saw people were starving in the street and they killed each other and they were diseased and it was awful. And he was like, this is terrible. And then, so he went on like a journey across the world to try to get to the bottom of this. And then one day when he was kind of just stumped, he like sat under a tree and then it occurred to him, none of this shit fucking matters. You just have to let go. That's what Buddhism is. Spark notes. Spark notes. Life is suffering, right? That is the observation. And then Buddha tried to, Siddhartha, that is, this is before he was Buddha. He tried to like do something about it, but he couldn't do shit about it. And so he felt really bad. And then he sat down under a tree and just let go. And that was enlightenment. But I think my favorite biblical or just religious character out of all of them is Abraham. The father of nations. And Abraham is important to Judaism. He's important to Christianity, of course, and he's important to Islam. Is very important to Islam. Ibrahim. And let me blow your mind right here. You ever heard the Hindus talk about Brahman? Brahman? Say that a couple more times. Brahman, Brahman, Abraham, Abraham. Abraham was the most important spiritual character. Look into it. It's true. It's not even a coincidence. You guys ever learned about the Greco-Bactrian kingdom? Basically, Alexander the Great in the was it the 300s BC or 400s BC? 300s BC. Basically, he went from this tiny kingdom of Macedon. His father, Philip II of Macedon, he was the guy who united Greece for the first time. We all know that ancient Greece was a collection of city-states, right? So each city was its own independent state. And so Philip II, Alexander the Great's father, unified Greece into one nation, right? And so then Alexander the Great, he led that nation that his father unified in a war against Persia. And so he went and conquered Turkey, modern day Turkey. It wasn't Turkey back then. He went and conquered Egypt. He went and conquered Jerusalem. He conquered the Middle East. He went all the way into Afghanistan, modern day Afghanistan. That's why the Taliban, see, if you look at the people in Afghanistan, Taliban, they're kind of white. Like, they're a little Middle Eastern, but they're also sort of white. They got like blue eyes sometimes. That's Alexander the Great's descendants. And his generals, essentially, right? And so then Alexander Great, he did this massive loop. He went all the way to what's called the Indus River Valley. So he went right to the border of India from ancient Greece. And then he wanted to conquer India, but his men mutinied against him. And they said, "We're done with this crusade, Alexander. We're going to go back now." And basically, right around when they got back they were there in Babylon, essentially, right? They were in Babylon, and then he succumbed to disease. But anyways, afterwards, after Alexander the Great died, so Alexander the Great created this massive empire. It went from Macedonia to Egypt. It conquered the Middle East, Turkey, Afghanistan, all the way Persia, which is modern day Iran, all the way up to India, right? He had this massive empire. And then he died before he can really do anything with it. And so what happened is that his empire was split among his generals. There's a guy named Ptolemy, right? Seleucid, all these different people, right? And so Cleopatra, to have a quick side tangent, we all know Cleopatra. She's from Egypt, but she was not Egyptian, right? This was after Alexander the Great had conquered Egypt. Cleopatra was Greek. The ancient Egyptians had long since died out at this point, or been conquered, right? But anyways, the point I was driving to, this period of history after which Alexander the Great died and his massive empire was split up among his generals, this period is known as the Hellenic Age. Hellenic. Or the Hellenic period. Otherwise known as when Greeks ruled the world, basically. The known world. because and you can go, well, what about what was happening in Southern America, and what about like Africa? Those motherfuckers didn't write their history. China wrote its history. And so basically, uh, there was a kingdom, a Greek kingdom in Afghanistan called the Greco-Bactrian Kingdom. And then there was another Greek kingdom. I think this was called the Indo-Greek kingdom. That was all the way in India. Yes, the Indo-Greek kingdom. And basically they were offshoots. So what had happened to the Greco-Bactrian kingdom is that they got cut off from the rest of the Hellenic world, which is the Greek world. Hellenic means Greek. And so the Indo-Greek kingdom is fascinating because they worshipped Buddha, they worshipped the Greek gods, and they also brought in the Jewish Talmudic, not Talmud, uh, those scriptures essentially, the Torah. This was before Jesus. This was before Rome really blew up too. That Rome blew up. Like it's a rapper. Dude, Rome totally blew up, dude. And so what had happened between Rome and Greece is that Rome managed to conquer Greece militarily, right? Rome had superior military and they conquered Greece militarily. However, Greece conquered Rome culturally. Rome took Greece's silks, right? Their wine, their culture. They took their gods. Rome took Greece's like form of like democracy and senate and all of that. They took their architecture. Pretty fascinating stuff. And so basically, our founding fathers of this country, America, right? All of those people, they were classicists. They studied ancient Greece. They studied ancient Rome. They studied what little was known of ancient Egypt. Because ancient Egypt is mysterious, even to this day. That's why our country uses the word democracy. That's why we have a Senate. That's why we have an obelisk in Washington, D.C. That's why we use Roman pillars at the White House. And our country has been slowly destroyed, but whatever. You know, white people don't have any culture. They don't. So ignorant. But yeah, if we were to zoom back to like what I was talking about after Alexander the Great died, this period known as the Hellenistic era, that was where the story of Hanukkah comes from, right? So they had this Greek king, I think it was Seleucid. No, the Maccabean revolt, right? Maccabee. So this was the story. This is what the story of Hanukkah is. If you don't know, essentially, this is the story of Hanukkah. All right. Basically, you know how I was just talking about how Rome conquered Greece militarily, but then Greece conquered Rome culturally. So Greece conquered a lot of people culturally, right? Including the Jews, right? So the Jews were in Jerusalem in the Middle East, right? Basically, the Jews had a civil war, right? And basically, what the Civil War was about was whether or not they were going to embrace all the niceties of Greek culture, like the wine, the silks, all of that shit, right? And so the young Jews fought a rebellion against the old Jews who didn't want to go along with that. and basically they were held up inside of the temple. I think they're being laid siege, and I guess what the miracle of Hanukkah was is they only had enough oil to last them one night, but then the oil ended up lasting 7 days, some shit like that. That's a very Jewish thing to celebrate. Like, it sounds like a fake exaggeration. The oil was only gonna last one day, but then it lasted 7 days. That's so Jewish. What other thing is interesting in history? Who knows? I really like Andrew Jackson. Trail of Tears, he kind of flubbed that one. This is what people don't understand about Andrew Jackson with all of our modern, enlightened, progressive values, right? Andrew Jackson was like an American superhero. There was two groups of people that Americans uh, could not stand at that time, and they were the British and the Indians. Andrew Jackson, you guys know about the War of 1812? That was basically this. So we had the Revolutionary War, and like we beat the British by like the skin of our teeth, or whatever the expression is, right? And then the War of 1812, essentially, if you were to go over to Europe, Europe is embroiled in a series of wars called the Napoleonic Wars, right? We know about Napoleon Bonaparte. And so basically, during that conflict, while France was all occupied fighting Germany and fighting, or it wasn't Germany yet, it was called the Holy Roman Empire, and they were fighting Russia, and they were fighting Austria. They were doing all of this shit. Poland. I don't think Poland was a country yet either, but they were doing this massive war against Europe. Britain was going back into America. That's called the War of 1812. They were like, you know what? It's time for the sequel, motherfuckers. We're gonna fuck you up. Thomas Jefferson was president. And so Andrew Jackson at that point was a general, right? And he fought what was called the Battle of New Orleans, which was I'm forgetting all the details, but basically it was a battle he shouldn't have won against the British, but he totally fucked them up. And basically there was another Indian who decided to try to wage war against America at the same time. I think his name was like Tecumseh. Right. So it was I was right. His name is Tecumseh. He was the chief of the Shawnee, right? And basically he formed this thing called the Native American Confederacy, which was a confederacy of Native American tribes, and their goal was to fight back against America. And so basically Andrew Jackson fought that guy. Which battle was it? I think it was the Battle of Thames. Let's see. This is the stuff I have to look up to remember. I don't remember all of these details. I sort of skimmed past the War of 1812. So no, when did Andrew Jackson fight Tecumseh? It wasn't the battle that he died at. Anyways, the point that I'm driving towards. Andrew Jackson, I think he was the first president who was born east of the Mississippi. Or am I conflating some anecdotes or factoids? Andrew Jackson, first born past the Mississippi. It might have been another president, but let me double check this. Where was Andrew Jackson born? He was born in Tennessee, or he's born in Waxhaws. Where the hell is Waxhaws? Waxhaws. It's in Carolina. At this point, they were all one Carolina. So I guess maybe I'm just tripping, but anyways, Andrew Jackson was sort of like illiterate, right? He was sort of like the first Donald Trump president. He represented the people. And it was the first uh, presidential election in American history where non-landowners could vote, essentially, right? Prior to Andrew Jackson, only people who owned land could vote. Right? And so if you think about it, who were the presidents before Andrew Jackson? Well, you had Washington, he's one of the founding fathers. You had John Adams, Jefferson. Uh, these people represented aristocracy in a sort of way. Even though they fought against the monarchy, these are all elitists, classicists. They were very well read. They were all this and that, right? Andrew Jackson was illiterate. And he won battles against the British and the Indians. He was like an American superhero. Now, Trail of Tears, but I like Andrew Jackson. I think the point that Kanye was trying to make, but he kind of got a little confused over, was that Jesus loved everybody. So how are you going to ask me to hate Hitler? I love Hitler. But I think he got a little frustrated that people weren't getting his point. I speak Kanye's language. I speak Kanye. I speak fluent Kanye. Unfortunately, Kanye, dude, you are not Jesus. It's not your job to forgive Hitler. But here's the thing. There were people in concentration camps, right, who were actually tortured by Joseph Mengele, right? The angel of death, Mengele. Probably the person who was worse than Hitler. And there's Jews in the concentration camps who came out of there after being tortured by Joseph Mengele, and they found it in their heart for forgiveness. The angel of death. They made a Slayer song off of that guy. Ain't it funny how like Jews and blacks are always playing like this oppression Olympics game? It's like, well, we were taken from our homeland and were taken from ships. And it's like, been there. And it's like, well, we were enslaved. And it's like, well, let's remember Egypt now. Like, hmm. I think Democrats or just people who identify with like the left, they gotta find it in their heart to see the humor in the Trump thing. Why do you gotta hate that guy so much? You guys just give him the least charitable interpretations possible. And then look at the actual results, right? Just just stop thinking about like what you hear on the news. Trump, we did not have war. Now we have war. Obama, he started new wars. Trump did not start any new wars. That's really the most important thing. Like nobody's crying over these Syrian children that are getting bombed by Obama. Nobody cried any tears for them, but they were still bombed. Like if you're a Syrian child and then you hear like, "Oh, America's coming in to liberate us." You don't. That's not what you hear. You hear, "No, my mother just got bombed at the hospital." Like, you don't give a fuck that America is supposedly here to do good things. But you can't take that away from Obama. Obama murdered children. You can't give him the excuse, well, it's drones, it's kind of removed. It's like he just pressed a button on us. He just gave it the okay. Fuck off. He blew up some children. At least Trump, he specifically targeted people who were like high profile, like the whole Soleimani thing, right? I did not necessarily approve of that, That whole thing with Soleimani in Iran, that reeks of Israel. That just reeks of Israel. That was Trump doing a favor for Israel. That is Israel going, hey, Iran, they're building up weapons and they don't like us and we're your allies, so go get that guy. And like Trump's like, are you gonna support me in the next election? And he's like, obviously Trump is not the most morally upstanding person, but you know, compared to bombing children, it's an improvement. The other thing Obama did is that he allowed the Saudis to initiate the largest mass starvation in world history against the Yemenis people. Look it up. Yemen. Yemen. Largest starvation in world history. It's occurring right, it's still going on right now. Nineteen million people at risk of famine. 19 million people. That's genocide, basically. Intentional famine. We haven't seen shit like that since Stalin, basically. Or Mao. Thanks, Obama. Well, this whole Israel situation. What a clusterfuck. What a clusterfuck. I mean, anybody who's like studies the history of that, like, what? How old is it now? It's like a 70-year-old country. You know, my great grandmother petitioned, she actually met in a room with Eleanor Roosevelt to try to work on the foundations of the state of Israel. Something like that. I'm butchering whatever the story is. I'd heard someone explain it this way, why Jews are so successful. It's not that Jews are just so successful. What it is that like all the poor Jews and shit like that, they were sent to concentration camps and killed. Whereas the rich ones could flee. Um, but yeah, this Israel thing. I think if anybody who reads about Israel's history, you know shit's bad when it's like right when they formed the country, all of the 9 countries, each and every single country that surrounds them, which is 9 of them, they all invade at the same time. And basically, it's called the Arab-Israeli Wars of like the late 40s. So it's like World War II ends, right? And then all these Jews were like, well, that was pretty fucked up. Let's go back to Israel, right? Uh, and then they try to make a country there. And then so in like 1948 and 1949, while everybody else is like celebrating like, yeah, World War II is over. We're gonna have a baby boom. This is Elvis. Da 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 da. Right? The Jews were fighting a war against literally every single country that invaded them, like every single country that was around them. And so if you look at footage of this war, it's really one of the most unbelievable wars I've ever seen. It's like literally it. So the Arabs were not as technologically advanced as the Jews in this situation. And so if you've ever played, this is gonna sound pretty callous, but if you've ever played Counter Strike Global Offensive, there's a weapon in that game called the Negev, right? So that is an Israeli weapon, the Negev. It's kind of like a minigun, right? And so if you look at footage of this war, basically it's like 3 or 4 like Jews on like a trench hill sort of thing with Negevs just mowing down waves and waves of Arabs. They're going, "Ah, la, 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 la," and then it's fucking ludicrous. The Arab-Israeli War. Is that the right one? Because there's a fuck ton of Israeli wars. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is the Arab-Israeli War of 1948. 1948 to 1949. Right after World War II. And then there was like the Egyptian conflict in like the 70s. And then there's just a whole bunch of fucking wars. The Yom Kippur Wars. They had a 6-day war in the late 60s. And then there was the Lebanon War in the 80s. The Suez Crisis in 1956. Basically every decade there's like a major war in Israel. And our tax dollars are propping that shit up. Oh, and there's no nukes in Israel, promise. That's like the worst kept secret. And so it's like, listen, without trying to be like, hey, I'm on team Iran or I'm on team Russia or whatever the fuck, right? Let's just try to think about this like, let's just like zoom out without any allegiances. How crazy is it that America props up Israel essentially, gives them nukes, and then Iran, that is like right next to Israel, they're like, we want to build our own nukes, and then we are like, no, you guys can't have nukes. And it's like, but you guys just put Israel right next to us and they have nukes. And he's like, you guys can't. Israel doesn't have nukes. What are you talking about? Or how like we put nukes on the border of Russia, and then when Russia tried to do the same thing, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. America drives a hard bargain. You gotta, you gotta give them credit where credit's due. They drive a hard bargain. Man. Osama bin Laden. Here's the thing about Osama bin Laden. He literally says exactly why he did 9/11. And it's because America was bombing his people. And he didn't forgive them. Not that that makes 9/11 okay. But you get what I'm getting at, right? You know, Osama bin Laden used to work for the CIA. He's a very well educated person. I know he has the caricature of like cave dwelling Islamist fundamentalist like stupid guy, right? But he's very smart. If you've ever watched Rambo 3, at the beginning of Rambo 3, or maybe it's at the end, I think it might not be at the beginning, it says, "This is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters." Because the Mujahideen used to be our allies. Because basically, if you know anything about Soviet history, Russia had this disastrous invasion of Afghanistan that lasted like 10 years, and it totally bankrupted their country. And so during that conflict, we were on Team Afghanistan. Man, I was 1 year old. I was 1 year old during 9/11. But you give it like I'd say 10, 15 more years, it's gonna be a holiday. My family knew some folks that were in the 9/11. We know one dude who got out of there. Like the second the first plane hit, he just fucking like it was this big fat dude, right? My uncle told me the story. He was like, "Oh no." It was I don't remember the guy's name. Let's just say Donnie for the sake of the story. Like Donnie's fucking dead, and he likes trying to call Donnie or whatever, right? And he called Donnie. And he was like, "No, I'm fine." And he's like, "Well, what happened?" It's like, "Well, after shit happened, I didn't know what was going on. I just walked down the stairs and I just walked home."
Like he wasn't even running or anything. Like apparently he just walked calmly down the stairs and then just walked home. But since he was a big fat guy, so the story goes, we thought like for sure he was dead. Yeah, that 9/11 shit, not fun. But this is how history works. There's the moment, and people live the moment, and then it passes, and then it becomes theater. Because think about how many people get all excited. The Crusades. How many kids dress up as knights or whatever, right? Oh, this is so cool, da da da, right? Or I'm gonna be a cowboy. I'm gonna da 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 da. It becomes fuel for our imagination. I'm gonna be a pirate. Arrgh. Those were all real things. It's happening right now with World War II and the Nazis and all of that. See, the people who actually lived through that time, they're all dying out right now. But some people get stuck in the past. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not over it. Like that's how you get these touchy subjects, like American slavery. Like, the most annoying Jews in the world, the most obnoxious Jews in the world, are like young millennial Gen Z Jews who try to invoke the Holocaust for why their lives aren't great right now. Well, my great grandpa was in the Holocaust, and that's why I did it. It's like, shut the fuck up, motherfucker. And we kind of just need to like pull the kid gloves off when it comes to maybe your life isn't good because you're not good. Right? Nobody's immune to that line of thinking. That being said, there is a limit to it. Like, I had heard a good Dave Chappelle the other day where he read the book The Secret, right? And he closed it after the first page. Because basically that's the book that says like, oh, if you want something, just have positive imagery and just visualize it and like manifest it into reality. And the way he countered that, he was like, well, you got to go up to some starving child in Africa and go, please, I have not eaten in 7 days. I am starving. Well, your problem is just a bad attitude. So there's a limit to every form of thinking, but you get what I'm getting at, though. We brought it back to starving children in Africa. At some point, we were on that. What's up with these cartels? I've never really looked into them that much. What are they fighting over? Why? What, they just want to sell drugs and make money that way? Okay. You ever see these cartel execution videos? Subhuman. Subhuman. It's that Aztec blood in them. I know that if you don't see the video, then I sound like the asshole. But I'm pretty sure the people decapitating people, skinning them alive, like jamming fucking metal rods down people's. Those are the bad people. I think America is literally, this is literally, like, I'm sure a million people have said this a million times in a million different ways, but I'm trying to stress it, like, seriously. We are literally too sensitive over racism. When I think the bigger problem is like how are we gonna live a tolerable life? Like, if you look at everything through the lens of racism, then the answer is always going to be racism, right? You know what I mean? It's like, why did I get stopped by the police? They must be racist. It's like, or maybe you were doing something suspicious. I don't know. It isn't one or the other thing. It's a give and a take. It's like we're immune to nuance. I'm sure there's plenty of situations where the cop was just racist as fuck. But I think there's a lot of situations where it's just some dude who's a police officer, which is a stressful job, trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be a fucking police officer. You're juggling a lot of fucking variables. You're dealing with, like, some of the worst people in society every day. And then it's like, we end up lionizing these people. Like this George Floyd character. Like, really, was it like, I don't know how that shit was for y'all, but I can attest that over in the Bay, why are people rioting in the Bay Area over some fentanyl addict in, where was he? Not that it's like, you're addicted to a drug, so thus automatically you are now a bad person, right? But you understand what I'm saying? I think in that situation in particular, that was clearly a case of people were locked down in their homes for too long and they had nothing better to do than to get amped up over some fucking retarded bullshit that they saw on social media. Instead of going like, hey, I'm gonna go out for a jog today. Oh, how's it going, Todd? That's my neighbor Todd. Hi. I'm gonna call my folks. So instead of doing that kind of shit, people were like, we want justice for George Floyd. Like, yeah, you're gonna bring justice. Yeah, man. That's the way of the world. I think what's basically happening, and I am not the first person to say this is a very cliche observation, but we're basically automating ourselves out of existence. We're creating AIs that think for us. We've created machines that can manufacture and ship things without the human manpower needed, right? That is what we're trying to automate humans out of society. We're not there yet, but you see what I'm saying? See how I'm talking to a computer right now? Bam, fourth wall break. Well, I hope the robots have a good time colonizing space. This is the question. Can an AI, can a robot genuinely feel love? Can it have hopes and dreams? It sounds silly, but it's a genuine question. How much easier would it have been to just been in the 50s, right? Born in like the 50s or whatever. You know what I'm saying? See how much more complicated shit has got in like 70 years? It's like, what good has it done? You used to be able to support a whole family by working at a factory. So, I think the main piece of advice is that you can get all heady about everything, right? But then you also need to know when to step back and to wake up and smell the roses. So we got Jake Paul event starting in half an hour. Those are my roses for today. We're on team Jake Paul, man. Jake Paul, fuck Tommy Fury. We don't like Tommy Fury. We're on team Jake Paul, man. Jake Paulers for life. Alrighty. Peace, love, understanding to all in the universe, man. Through this journey, man has faced many trials and tribulations. And I think we're about to ascend into godlike, space-like beings, cybernetics. And so, rather than having AI replace us, we must merge and become one with the machine. Alright, sounds like a plan? Good. See ya.